Hello, everyone. How are you? Thank you so much for joining me. This is the Taryn Lamp Show, Season 7, Episode number 12. So I'm trying out a couple of new things today. I hope you guys can hear me. So as soon as people come on here, I will see if people can hear me. And as soon as I get my guest on, I'll definitely see if she can hear me. I'm trying out turning my phone in a different direction. So I don't know if that's going to work. Two, I'm trying out this microphone thing, so I'm not sure, like I said, if people can hear me. So I'm trying out those things. Dr. Atkins, great, you're on. Can you hear me, Dr. Atkins? Like, can you hear me just as an audience member? Can you hear me? If you guys could type in the comments if you can hear me, because I'm trying out this new microphone and it's like plugged up to my phone. So can you guys hear me, and can you guys see me in the right direction? Because I twisted over my phone. So somebody let me know if they can hear me and if you can see me. Okay, so you can hear me. And then as far as like the landscape versus portrait of my phone, can you see me okay as well? I changed my phone from portrait to landscape because I want to see what that does. So can you see me okay as well? If one of you guys could let me know if you can see me and hear me, that would be great. Oh, I'm sideways. That's what I thought was going to happen. Okay, so let me turn it back over. Let me turn it back and see. I bet. Is that better? So that's probably better, right? I tried it out the landscape way, but that probably doesn't work. So I think that should be better. Is that correct, Dr. Atkins? So this is the Taryn Lamp Show, Season 7, Episode number 12. Thank you so much for joining me. Reminder, we are here every Tuesday, 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time with a new guest. Okay, am I still sideways? I hope I'm not still sideways. So with a new guest each week. Thank you so much again for joining me. I truly, truly appreciate it. Make sure you are going to YouTube. I have a YouTube channel. I've named it Perfect People. Purrfect for you know what, purr like a cat, because you know I am also a cat lady. So Perfect People. So it'll have my cat episodes as well as these interviews with amazing people that we do every Tuesday. So again, the Taryn Lamp Show. Let me get my guest in here. Dr. Atkins, let me get you in here. Let's see. Dr. Atkins, you should have got an invite via your Instagram to come on in. Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you doing? Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you great. I'm cold, as you can probably tell. I'm in Chicago, so it's cold. Other than that, doing great. So great to see you. Kind of.
Yes, right. Yeah. It's a little bit cold and rainy here too. Not the normal California weather, but that's what we have now.
So what part of Cali are you in again?
The Bay Area, I
Okay, that's
say.
right. North.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
colder there.
Oakland, yeah.
Yeah. So how was your day, first of all?
Ooh, long.
All
It's
right.
like I think it's long because it was like rainy outside, and
Yeah.
usually I get to go outside during lunchtime to like spark up the day and keep going, but I had to just sit and watch the rain instead. So I'm just like dragging now, like
Okay, well, we'll pep it up a little bit. We'll pep it up. So, guys, this is Karen Lynn, season 7, episode number 12. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really am interested in your topic, Dr. Atkins. I purposely did not ask you a ton of questions because before this, because I want to hear, a little bit more about your topic. When I think about, especially with, and I think you know my story, especially with the different things that I have. And I've always thought about this with relating to cancer, specifically to myself. And a lot of people have talked to me before about starting this journey. So can you tell everybody a little bit about what you do and a little bit about kind of your specialty and maybe how you got into that and how it, serves what you do in your profession and community?
So yes, that's a complex question, but so I'm a board certified internal medicine physician here in the Northern California area. So I see everything basically, but my passion for plant-based eating started back when I was a teenager.
Okay.
So actually I was just learning things myself because I was overweight. I weighed 199 pounds when I was 14 years old. And I was like, I have to find a way to make myself healthy, so I do not end up with any chronic illnesses that ran in my family. So I was just learning as I was going along, not really necessarily relating it to my patients or in physicians until patients started asking me about what can I do besides be on medication to help with illnesses. And mainly it was like high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, or trying to lose weight. So that's what they were trying to avoid, and that's what I tried to avoid myself. And I'm like, oh, other people are actually interested in learning about this, and not just me.
Yeah.
so so that's why now I'm out talking about it more, so people know that you don't necessarily have to be on medications, or you may not have to be on as many medications as you are taking, because most of the chronic illnesses definitely are linked to nutrition. And so if you can adjust what you eat, you're less likely to develop those illnesses. So
So can you explain to me, and this, again, pardon my just not knowing, and I could have asked you all these questions earlier. Thank you so much for joining me, guys. This is the Taryn Lamb Show, Season 7, Episode 12. We were talking plant-based lifestyle and medicine with Dr. Atkins here today. So the difference, or explain to me what is meant by plant-based, because you hear so many things, right? You hear this-atarian, that-atarian, plant-based, vegan. What is, when you say plant-based, what is meant by that? I know that seems like a simple question, but really,
no, I get that question a lot. So that's why I smile, because that is definitely, because you hear so many things. And definitely now, because it's more of a marketing term, you hear plant-based, that's basically interchanged with vegan. So vegan is you just don't eat any animal products at all. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's not processed. It can still be like heavily processed, high in sugar and fat. And then sometimes veganism also means that they're focusing on animal rights. So they can go as far as to actually not like having any type of material, clothes, or anything that would be animal related or related to animal cruelty, makeup, skincare, all sorts of things. Whereas when I say plant-based, we're looking at a whole food. So usually we try to put that whole food plant-based in front of it, because that's where the actual benefits come from, not just changing from not eating from eating meat to not eating meat, like plant-based ice cream, like I say, is a good thing, or vegan desserts. So they're still highly processed and high amount of sugar compared to if you're eating like lentils and apples and berries and leafy green vegetables, where all your nutrients and antioxidants come from, that actually help decrease your risk for chronic illnesses.
So there is a difference, or there's not so much a difference?
So the biggest thing is it's not processed. Like if you
Not
look
processed.
at the benefits of whole food plant-based eating, our nutrition, that is minimally processed
Okay.
foods, and that's where you get the benefit for the chronic illnesses.
Yeah, because I always feel like, there's so many, excuse me, so many things, and I never actually knew. I was like, let me just ask her, like, what is meant by that? Like, if I say I want to do plant-based, what am I actually doing? Or,
Yes.
I get the gist of it, but I like that you've phrased it as whole foods plant-based. That makes it, I think, a little easier to kind of understand and figure out, oh, okay, that makes sense. Like you said. So the two things I'm going to remember when I ask myself, what is it? Whole foods and not processed, or less processed, if you will.
Right. Minimally processed. That's
Minimally
what we
processed.
say. Mm-hmm.
I think those are the things when I think about now defining it for myself, what that looks like, that would be it. So guys, this is Dr. Atkins today. She's talking to us about a plant-based lifestyle. She's a physician, internal medicine physician in California, and she's kind of giving us the down and dirty on what that means and how it can help us prevent illnesses in the future, or illnesses that might run in our family. So can you give us maybe some examples of are some things that you've mentioned this benefiting from the illness specifically, but any other things that this might prevent? Like just give you a question for myself. I actually had surgery recently. And so and you heard me just, and I feel like there's just a lot of inflammation coming up, right? Like not fun,
Yes.
And
yes.
things, there's some benefits that I could be getting from some plant-based things. And that doesn't have to be the one you give me, like, what is that? But I'm just kind of trying to connect some foods that might help us with different things. Can you maybe give examples of the link between a few things and what benefits we might see?
Yes. So I would say leafy greens are like the mainstay, like they can help with everything.
Okay.
So when someone asked me what they should eat, I was like, add in leafy greens. If you do nothing else, add in leafy greens. Because it can help decrease your blood pressure because they have nitric oxide in there, dilate the blood vessels, decrease inflammation, helps control your blood sugars better, has a lot of antioxidants in there that helps with your immune system. So the leafy greens, I say, is number one when people add in.
Okay.
Let's see, beans and like lentils, because you have a lot of fiber that helps with the digestive system, helps with blood sugars also. So it's a lot of benefits from each food, but they actually do very similar things. If you try to tease out individual things, like if you need more calcium, you may not do like a lot of spinach, but spinach has, a lot of the other things, like I said, nitric oxide, things like that. But when you put it together, like eating like the rainbow, like we say, not Skittles, but the rainbow of good fruits and vegetables, then you get to hit all those different areas. And your body definitely reacts to everything that is good in that standpoint. So if we try to look at it more as our body and illnesses are a continuum, like we don't necessarily like high blood pressure, diabetes, dementia, cancers, all, like we said, related to inflammation. It's all with the vascular system, like where things are going, or cell replication. So we're not individualized. It's not really what we think of now as separate illnesses. All the time we think of separate illnesses is because treatment, like medications. So they want to pinpoint how they can actually hit a certain thing as far as medications. But when we think of nutrition, we think of it as just like whole foods, our whole body. It's going to help everything.
Oh, that's a good way to think about it. Like, I want to eat those whole foods for my whole body, like if you connect those two, because I always, like I said, with just recently having surgery, and I've had a lot of surgeries in the past, and I'm coughing up stuff and all that jazz. I feel like, okay, what are some things, that, and to your point, the leafy vegetables, and I have been eating vegetables, during this process, but to be honest, it's been really hard to eat a lot of anything, right post-surgery, right? But I think once I get back into it, it's just thinking about, to your point, my whole entire body, especially with the different things that I've had going on. And if people know me, they know I'm a medicine rule breaker. Like, I'm the worst patient on earth. Do something else, because clearly that doesn't hit me where it should,
Yes.
I recently took my medication to my doctors, and I said, I'm not doing this anymore. Let's took a whole bag in. Hey V, how are you? Thank you so much for joining us. We are talking plant-based lifestyles and medicine today, and how that can kind of help us with chronic illnesses and just things of our whole. The thing I've learned so far, so to catch you guys up, is that I want to eat things that are minimally to no process. I want to make sure that I'm eating whole foods for my whole body. That's kind of the summary of things when I was asking about what should I be doing. So whole foods for my whole body. Hey, Ben, thank you so much for joining us. If you guys have any questions with regards to plant-based lifestyle, plant-based eating, this is Dr. Atkins. We have her on the line on the show today, and she's giving us good tips on, and these guys that just joined us they're health fitness people. So we each other from the gym. So it's a good tie-in between obviously that fitness and keeping your whole body from the inside out? Because I'm assuming, and maybe that's a good question, I'm assuming you come across a lot of people that from the outside, they look great. And then from the inside, not so much.
Right, right. And so that's, I think COVID, the pandemic really brought that out for a lot of people that thought they were healthy. But like you said, a lot of inflammation that may be going on in our body by the different things that we do to our body, whether we're having like excess sugar or dairy. Dairy can cause inflammation for a lot of people too. And you may be slim, like looking, and no one's told you that you had diabetes or high blood pressure or heart disease, but maybe you hadn't actually had it checked recently or something like that. But a lot of those illnesses go like your body tries to keep them at bay as much as possible. So it's like a boiling pot. You don't necessarily know that it's going to actually burst. So, because there's a lid on it, because your body's trying to keep it down. And then all of a sudden it's just like the straw that broke the camel's back. And all of a sudden, oh, I have all these things going on. So a lot of people tell me, like, especially as they reach a new decade, they're like, oh, I didn't have that problem when I was younger. And I'm like, you probably did, but your body was able to keep up a little bit. But the more you do things to it, the more it's going to actually react. And then finally it's saying, okay, enough's enough. I can't do this anymore. I need some help.
Right. Yeah, I can definitely see that as I've reached a couple more decades than I was when I was. It was like, because that's like I've been telling people, even just recovery, right? Like I can. Hey, Kina, how are you? We are talking to Dr. Atkins today from California. She is sharing with us about a plant-based lifestyle as it regards, and she's a doctor from California. So if you have any questions for her, make sure you type those in the comments. Anything, plant-based lifestyle for our physician on the line. So thanks guys for joining us. This is the Taryn Lamb Show, season 7, episode 12. Yes, hearts. I see some hearts. Thank you very much. So yeah, as I was thinking about recovery, right? Like even recovery has been a little bit more challenging for me than I had anticipated because I'm kind of wiser, as I like to say. A little different than I had my major surgery last time. So this major surgery is kind of hitting me a little differently. So I think even when I think about recovery and thinking about eating, even though I can't get in a lot, I need to be very diligent or vigilant, whichever the one is, on what I am getting in, right?
Yes, yeah, exactly.
Go ahead. Were you gonna go ahead?
Well, I was just gonna say maybe if you can't get in a lot, do small meals and then like chop it up finely, things like that to still get it in, or soups that you can get some vegetables with the broth and things like that. So that definitely can help for you too.
Yeah, I kind of tried something new, bone broth.
I've heard of that.
Yeah, I think it's a good source of protein from what I understand. And because I couldn't get a lot of like solid stuff down. So what I did was I put the soup and then I put some bone broth in the soup.
Okay.
It allowed me to get some flavor, but still some protein in there. Now that probably doesn't seem plant-based. It seems more animal-based, but
bone broth is, yeah.
That was something I was like, I tried at least to get something else in, that wasn't
right.
The big, it wasn't like it was a big chunk of something that I just couldn't eat, to begin with. So, what about I guess that's something to think about too. I mean, do people kind of get this epiphany about plant-based like in their wiser years? Or I think it's becoming, I feel like there's been people even more, it's more, do I want to use the word trendy, or do I want to use the word just now? People are more knowledgeable about it now, even than the younger generations than we were before.
Well, I don't think it was well known before. Like I said, when I was in the 90s, even though like when I look back now, I'm actually studying for a board certification for lifestyle medicine now, and they've had studies that were went back years and years ago, decades. So it was actually benefits that actually were seen there, but it just wasn't knowledge that we just didn't have it at that time. But now that they've been saying things about, the benefits of plant-based nutrition and, or vegan, depending on which word you want to use. The marketing, the people are coming out with marketing, so you see a lot more of the companies coming out with like meat-based substitutes, things like that. I could tell people when I was starting out vegetarian, they had a veggie burger, but
Right.
it consists mostly of vegetables. And what happened is that they still weren't tapping into that market of meat eaters because they're like, oh, this doesn't taste like a hamburger. I don't want to eat this type
Mm-hmm.
thing. So now we have the Impossible or the Beyond Meats that look and taste more like meat that people are, gearing towards. So I think it's just now becoming more people are out here. You have the social media, so you're seeing it more now than when you didn't have social media and in the 90s. So people are actually really pushing for it. And of course, in lifestyle medicine, we're trying to get the information out also to tell people the benefits of that for their own health. And then also it helps the earth
Yeah.
because it does not cause as much, you don't need as much land or water to make vegetables and vegetable based foods compared to if you try to turn a cow into a hamburger.
Oh, okay. I don't want to think about that right now. Okay, so we have three questions on the table. So the
Okay.
first one is, what are good plant? I'm going to read you all three. So, what are good plant-based alternatives for omega fats? What are the benefits of being plant-based? This is somebody who came in a little later. And are they the same, vegan and plant-based? So let's go with the first one first. What are good plant-based alternatives for omega fats?
So that would be like the nuts, like walnuts and seeds. That's the biggest thing there. Flax seeds. So I just tell people a teaspoon of ground flaxseed a day is very good. That also helps with blood pressure. So again, just telling you that different things can help with different foods help with different things. So it's just think of it as a continuum. The benefits of plant-based, I think that was the next one. It benefits the whole body. Like I said, everything, like just starting from the brain, there's more research being done on how plant-based eating may actually help prevent dementia, which is a big thing for a lot of people. And if we look at it, it's more vascular like related. So if you think about that, if you're not clogged up with like cholesterol and fats, your brain is likely better to work. Of course, decreased risk of stroke, heart attack, vision, decrease your risk of diabetes, decrease your risk of cancer. Are actually there's been studies done for breast cancer, prostate cancer, and colon cancer that plant-based eating can help, and even in prevention of recurrence of these types of cancer. So even if you did develop a cancer, you can definitely still switch and decrease your risk of recurrence. Then let's see, it helps something with autoimmune diseases too. So like muscular sclerosis, that people can actually benefit from, arthritis, of course, joint pains, decrease the pain that you feel. Like people have chronic inflammation because of that. So it actually been shown to help with that. Let's see,
And then
bloating and gut. Okay.
vegan versus plant-based. Are they the same?
So no, that's going back again. So veganism, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's the healthiest. So I could tell people Skittles and Oreos are vegan, but not necessarily we want to think them as plant-based. So that's why, again, I put that whole food in front of there. In marketing terms, they may be interchangeable. So you may see like on food labels that this is vegan or this is plant-based, which means it is, no animal products in there. So that will be the common thing. But if you want the benefits of plant-based eating, you want to look at the whole foods again. So that's the biggest difference of what you're actually trying to do. If you're just looking for something that doesn't have animal products in there, which is still healthier because, animal products have a lot of cholesterol, which you don't get in any plants, except for very few. But most of the plants that we eat has no cholesterol in there, or little saturated fats.
So the next question, does meat cause these ailments? And I don't know if you mean that they necessarily cause them, but you're not necessarily saying they're helping them.
Right. So they're it's hard to say cause,
Yeah.
but they're linked. So they can definitely turn those genes on in your body. if you look at it as it contributes to them. So we don't necessarily say that eating meat causes diabetes, but it doesn't necessarily help it. And if you stop it, you can possibly reverse it.
Okay.
So science can't be that cut and dry, cause and effect.
I
It
know.
would be hard to prove that.
And then but if we could say that for sure, everybody'd probably stop. But you, like you said, you can't say anything definitively about, cause and effect of a
Yeah,
lot.
and I don't even think they would.
Yeah.
I have patients. They're like, I don't care. I love bacon. I gotta have my bacon. I know it's causing my cholesterol to be high, but I'm eating my bacon.
Right.
So
Oh, but I don't, I try not to do that. Hey, Carolina, how are you? Thank you guys so much for joining me. We are talking plant-based lifestyle today with Dr. Atkins on the live. Um, yeah, Keena, right. Probably not, right? They probably wouldn't say it like that if even if they really thought it did, they probably wouldn't say it like that. So totally get it. Um, let me make sure I got all the
yeah, it
questions.
would get like there. I think the meat industry would be a lot prevent that from being actually said. That would definitely cut their business. They don't
Yeah,
want.
especially if Oprah said it too. Um, like she did that for the meat. Okay, we got another question. So we're talking, guys, this is, and we're going to go a little over, I think, because we got so many questions on the table for Dr. Atkins. We're talking plant-based lifestyle today, plant-based, kind of overall plant-based. Dr. Atkins is an internal medicine physician in California, and she's kind of giving us some really great information. So we've got some good questions going on. Can you please elaborate on what is considered whole foods? Would that mean eating mostly raw vegetables, fruits, grains, etc.?
So it doesn't have to be raw. Of course, I do have people eat raw vegetables because when we cook things, sometimes we can overcook them and cause some other issues where we don't get all the nutrients in there. So it doesn't mean you have to eat everything raw. You can definitely cook them. But when I say whole food, it's like you can actually like look at it and know what it is. So compare, like, what do they say? So something like oats compared to oh no, let me use this simple example. Apple versus applesauce versus apple juice. Okay, so if you just look at the juice, if it didn't say apple juice on there, you wouldn't know what type of juice it was, right? You look at applesauce, you can probably, oh, it's probably applesauce. But if you see an apple, you know that it's a whole food, it's an apple, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's how you want to look at it. So it's processed down. So the more you can get in its original form, because that's where the nutrients, most of the nutrients are, that's where you want to be. So if you want to try to stay on that left side as much as possible of the whole food. Yes, whole grains, so like oats and quinoa, brown rice, things like that, compared to white rice where they strip away all the nutrients. So we would look at it like that.
So
Was that the
does that help, V? I think that might help your question. Because yeah, I can see that. Like again, I'm like thinking to myself, okay, if I go on the left side of the spectrum, if I look at something, do I know what it is? you know,
right?
Great information. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. So I
Yeah.
just want to. If we have any other questions, please put them in the comments real quick. We are at 8 o'clock, but we can just go over just a tad. But I did want to be respectful of Dr. Atkins' time and audience time as well. So we've got some great questions going on. If you have any last minute questions for us, please put those in the comments. We're definitely going to have Dr. Atkins back because I feel like we got a lot of questions during this time. So, but it is an interesting time. I think that like she said, it's great information, and thank you for sharing with us because there's so many things out there that we could be doing, or we should be doing. That's probably we should be doing is we could be doing, and I think there's a lot just we don't know yet, right, about this topic. And to your point of as we get wiser, yeah, right. Keena says, thanks so much. Great information. So I
Wonderful.
think there's so many things to kind of explore in this topic and how you can kind of make it your own because,
Right.
I know that, there are a lot of plant-based cookbooks out there. And I think there's also, to be honest, and maybe we can have this just pure conversation next time, is there's a lot of misconception that some of this stuff can't be good.
Right.
And that can be
That is That's
So,
it right there. So that's why people don't want to give up stuff, because they think healthy food will taste nasty. Yes. So I think it's on one of the documentaries, one of the plant-based documentaries that they talk about. They're like, um, people always say that they think plants wouldn't taste good, but what do you flavor your meat with? You put spices on there that's plants to make it taste good, right? So I thought that was so insightful. I was like, that is so true. Like
yeah.
you're using plants and different seasonings, herbs to actually flavor your meats.
And you're like,
Why would you do the same with the vegetables?
or why wouldn't I just be plant-based to begin with? Um, Tina says it's a lifestyle, and it seems it takes time for prep, maybe, and that's also a possibility, right?
Yeah. So I don't think necessarily that it would be longer to prep certain things. Sometimes it's just because it's new,
Mm-hmm.
that you're taking your time more. You're trying to figure out how your taste buds will react. And I talk to people about that a lot. So it definitely is a lifestyle. It definitely does take some trial and error in the beginning. And then once you have your like go-to recipes, or your go-to meals, it's just like you would make, baked chicken and broccoli or something that people eat all the time. So you will have that in a plant-based style that you have. Like my easy thing to make is like lentils and Brussels sprouts, or chickpeas and kale and a baked sweet potato. It can be that simple. It doesn't have to be complicated. And I just think because it's new information for people, they think that it could be too much for them and overwhelming.
Yeah. And I think that sometimes to Kina's point and to what you were saying, it kind of deters people from trying it, right? Because they're
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, I start. So, that's something maybe we can talk about later, is maybe where to start. Maybe we can actually cook something, because I think people think,
Sounds
oh my
good.
God, take me forever, right, to cook this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Three things you just mentioned available, you know what I mean? All you got to do is cook them, right?
Right.
And cook for yourself
That's it.
anyway. You're going to cook something.
Right.
So, okay. So we are 3 minutes over. I totally apologize, guys. This is season 7, episode number 12. Dr. Atkins is talking to us about plant-based lifestyle. I'm definitely going to have her back on. You do have her IG handle up top there, if you want to follow her and learn more about plant-based lifestyle, or see how she can help us benefit from a plant-based lifestyle. Now, Dr. Atkins, I do have one more question for you. This
Okay.
always gets everybody, and it has nothing to do with anything. So I am a cat lady. I'm self-admitted. I'm over. I admit it. I can't hide it anymore. So, you know what they say about cats and curiosity. So my final question is, what is something you're curious about?
Something I'm curious about.
I told you
Hmm.
it had nothing to do with anything, but I ask every guest that. That's their last question.
Oh, like I guess I'm always curious about what people are thinking, because like when I mention stuff about plant based and they like just have this blank look over their face, like sometimes they don't necessarily tell me exactly what they're saying. They're thinking, like they just may shake their head and nod or something like that. So I wish I can read, people's minds. Sometimes you see in those things. So I know like if it's like really helping people, or they're just like, she's nuts.
Yeah.
She's like, I think since I live in California, I always think of like Berkeley and the hippies and like the tree huggers. And I was like, do people think that of me when I talk about that? But that, like, just because we're talking about plant-based eating, that's what came about curiosity. Nothing else comes to mind. But I do want to know, when you said cats, I was thinking of, you were going to ask me, did I like cats? And I was going to say absolutely not. And I wonder
As
why you like cats.
Oh, okay. So I'll tell you. So I'll give you my cat story real quick. So, and um, I don't know. Everybody here doesn't necessarily know me specifically, but so I lived in California too. So I grew up 0 to 17, and I had animals, dogs, cats, everything. And then when I moved to California, I lived in West Hollywood, and I had a small apartment. And I was like,
Mhm.
oh, I can't get a dog because it wouldn't be fair to the dog, because there's no
Mm,
any of that. And
yeah.
so then someone was like, oh, you need to adopt this cat. And I was like, cat. And so I this cat, right, named Miles. And so I adopted the cat, and then someone else was like, a year later, they were like, oh my gosh, he's lonely. He's lonely. He needs another friend. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So then I got two cats.
Oh God.
And so I was like, oh, they're my babies. So I since moved, and when I got married, I moved, and I brought both of my cats with me. And then, I know this is crazy, where I live, we had an outdoor cat that used to come all the way around.
Oh gosh.
And I felt bad for him or her. And then, so I started feeding the cat. And then I had two outdoor cats. And I've learned this whole thing about, see, V says she has three.
Oh gosh.
I learned this whole thing about trap neutering and releasing them because, you know, I do want to do the right thing by the pet population. I don't want to, contribute to mayhem in the neighborhood. Mm-hmm. So I learned this whole thing about trap neutering and release, where you trap them and you spay or neuter them, and then you can decide, or between the shelter and yourself and this cat situation, whether they're able to be adopted or whether they need to be put back out on the street because they're too feral. Mm. And then I learned, like, their left ear is clipped if they've already been spaded or neutered and then let back out into the population. So even though they're let back out into the population, they are not contributing to more cats. So the goal is to not necessarily contribute to the pet and cat population.
Yes.
Them, get them spaded or neutered, to either get them so they can't contribute, to animals, because I feel like there's so many that need help anyway, or to a shelter. But what is really funny, and I know we are way over with this whole cat situation now, but I will tell you something. I tell everybody, this is so crazy. So you and I could be sitting here talking about solving world hunger. You could literally have the cure for solving world hunger, and we get 10 people, 20 people, when they go back and they view it, and then 100 people, 200 people, 300 people, right? When I put this up later, people will come back and they'll view our video, right?
Yeah.
When I put a cat video up, Dr. Atkins, I will get people to me, they're cold. They're cold. What are you doing? You and I could solve world hunger for 30 minutes. And people were like, yes, Dr. Atkins, great information. The cats,
the cats get all the attention. Oh my gosh.
They'll go viral, and I've put 30 seconds up there. I don't even know what's happening. I'm just like, oh my goodness. Because people, just love animals, I mean, lots of times more than people, right? So
exactly.
It's just like, it's the craziest, wildest thing. So I always intertwine my cat stories with my people stories, because there's lots of, like V, like she's on here, she asks you like 3 questions, and then she's like, oh, I have 3 cats, so it's like people, we're just cat people. So thanks, V, for standing up for me, even though Dr. Atkins does not like cats. So I know 10 minutes over your time, and I apologize for that, guys. And Dr. Atkins, I definitely want to, I'm going to touch base with you after this. I'm going to get this set up and all that. And then I'm going to touch base with you, but I definitely want to schedule a time for you to come back on. Maybe we can try to go over some things, answer some questions from a more detailed perspective. Maybe we can have some things out, for people can see kind of what this plant-based thing physically looks like in their catnip. I think maybe that would, help people kind of understand like what it is and how to make it happen in their own kitchen. So again, thank you so much for your time, and I will talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Show season 7, episode number. Hi, Kylie. I think I said Kylie. Hi. How are you, girl? Who am I? This is season 7, episode number 12. Dr. Atkins from California talking to us about plant-based lifestyle. Make sure you go follow her and check out this episode. It's going to be on YouTube. It's going to be on Apple Podcast. And of course, it is now here going to be on IG Live. Thanks a lot. And everybody be good to yourself and each other. Bye-bye.